Oh, hey, what's going on, everybody? I was just downstairs. I figured I'd come up because it's time for the high press. My name is Dave, and we are here again on fanfutsal.com, taking a look at the upcoming matches in our Pick'em feature, making our predictions, and trying to have a little bit of fun here. So, thank you for joining us. I went 48% with my predictions for last week. Tried to do better, but 48% is almost passing, so I'll give myself a pat on the back for that one. No EPL this week because we have the FA Cup and we don't have FA Cup matches on fanfutsal.com. All that being said, let's get right to the matches here. First match of the weekend is Augsburg versus Leverkusen. Neither having a particularly good year. Augsburg lower mid-table, Leverkusen mid-table, but substandard by their standards. I expect that one to end up as a draw. Granada versus Betis. Granada sitting down in the relegation zone. Betis, not much far above them, only one win in their last 5. I like Granada to actually get a home victory there, give themselves a little bit of hope of getting out of the relegation zone. Juve versus Palermo. Juve really starting to open up a gap at the top of Serie A. Palermo down in the relegation zone. I don't see them getting a victory here, and I expect Juve to get a win. Bastia down in 19th in Ligue 1. Monaco first. 3-point lead over Chasers PSG. I expect Monaco to get a road victory there. Keep their high-powered offense flowing. Veracruz versus Tigres. Tigres really stumbling in recent weeks. Veracruz off to a decent start by their standards, but I actually like Tigres to get a road victory here, start to get some of the momentum that they had in the Apertura. Moving on to Saturday here, we got Dortmund versus Wolfsburg. Dortmund has really been slipping. They had the loss last week to Darmstadt. Midweek, they lost to, I believe, Benfica in the Champions League. Wolfsburg, though, has been on spotty form all year. I expect Dortmund to get a win there. Mainz versus Werder. Mainz comfortably mid-table. Werder down fighting in the relegation zone. You know, they've been struggling. I expect Mainz to get a home victory there. Hertha still fighting for European spots. Bayern, though, in first, starting to open up a gap at the top of Bundesliga after Leipzig slip-ups. I don't see Bayern dropping points here, although they have made it really interesting in recent weeks. But I still expect them to get a win. Hoffenheim versus Darmstadt. Already said Darmstadt got a surprise victory last week. Hoffenheim suffered their second loss of the season last week. I don't expect either of those trends to continue, and I expect Hoffenheim and their stout defense to get a victory in this one. Eintracht Frankfurt versus Ingolstadt also suffered a surprise loss. Frankfurt also suffered a surprise loss last week. Ingolstadt down in 17th relegation spots. I expect Frankfurt to get back to winning ways here. Hamburg versus Freiburg. Hamburg, 2 straight victories. They're starting to get a little bit of momentum going. Freiburg, comfortably mid-table. They're having a pretty good year by their standards, but I actually like Hamburg to get a victory and kind of keep that momentum going. Third straight win on the bounce. Sporting Gijon versus Atletico. Atletico having a good, not having a good year, but starting to put things back together. Still good defensively, sitting in 4th. Gijon had a good victory last week over Leganes to give themselves a little bit of hope of getting out of the relegation fight. I don't see them getting a victory here, though, and I expect Atletico to get a win. Madrid versus Espanyol. Espanyol having a surprisingly good year, but Madrid sitting first, 2 games still in hand on the Chasers. Barcelona in second. I expect them to get a victory and not stumble there. Deportivo La Coruña versus Deportivo Alaves. Alaves got smoked by Barcelona last week, and that makes their defensive record look a little bit shaky, but I think they batten down the hatches and get a draw out of this one. Not a victory, but a draw. La Coruña has a pretty good offense, but I like Alaves' defense to kind of neutralize that and that to end up as a draw. Sevilla versus Eibar. Sevilla is still sitting third, although they're stumbling a little bit and giving Atletico reason to hope for them to jump up into the Champions League spots. I don't see that happening, though, at least not this week, and I expect Sevilla to get a win there. Atalanta quietly up to 5th in Serie A. They're having a really good run of form, good year. Crotone down in 19th, not having a good year, going to be relegated. I don't see this one ending up as anything other than an Atalanta win. Empoli versus Lazio. Empoli not having a very good year either, but they're benefiting from the bottom 3 in Serie A being terrible. Lazio struggling these last few weeks. They were in 4th, but have dropped to, I believe, 6th over the last few weeks. I expect them to get a win, though, in this one. Olympique Marseille versus Rennes. Rennes hasn't won in a bunch of games, like 7 or 8 games, 5 straight draws. Marseille on spotty form, win-loss, win-loss. They lost last week. I expect them to get back to winning ways here and take down Rennes. Lorient versus Nice. Nice stumbling a little bit in the title race. They were first for a while. Now they're down in third. I expect them, though, to get a victory over last place Lorient there. Angers versus Nancy. Angers got a victory last week. Nancy has been struggling back and forth. They struggle to score goals, lowest scoring club in Ligue 1. I expect Angers to get a win there. Caen versus Lille. Both clubs in the relegation fight. I believe Caen is 17th or 16th, 18th, and Lille is 17th. Whatever it is, they're really close in the relegation fight. I expect Caen to get a win at home. Jump Lille, knock them down into relegation spots. Metz versus Nantes. Nantes, the other lowest scoring club in Ligue 1. Metz at home, but I don't expect them to be able to prevail. I expect that one to end up as a draw. Cruz Azul versus Atlas. Both clubs in spotty form so far this year, but I like Cruz Azul at home to get a victory. Monterrey, there's 2 still remaining undefeated clubs in Liga MX. I expect them to remain undefeated, get a home victory over Pachuca, who's no pushover there. Monarcas versus Toluca. Toluca up to, I believe, first in the table in the Clausura. I expect them to get a win there, get a victory, keep that going. Lyon versus Santos Laguna. Laguna, the only other undefeated team still in the Clausura. I expect them to get a win on the road. Necaxa versus Querétaro. Both clubs coming off a win last week, but I like Necaxa to keep that going, get a victory. Chivas versus America, first game to be streamed on Facebook Live. I like Chivas to get a win in that one. Let's move on to Sunday. I got to get this thing moving because we are running out of time here. Scrolling up, Mönchengladbach versus Leipzig. Leipzig's 2 straight losses on the bounce. Mönchengladbach 3 straight wins, and I expect them to make it another one and make it 3 straight losses for Leipzig. Köln versus Schalke. Köln, stout defensively. Schalke having a poor year by their standards. I don't expect either team to prevail in that one. I expect that to be a draw. Sociedad versus Villarreal. Sociedad, decent club. They're in 5th, Villarreal in 6th, I believe. Villarreal very stout defensively. It's going to be tough, but I expect Sociedad to prevail in that one. Valencia versus Athletic Club. Valencia, incredibly tough to predict what the heck's going to happen from them, but I like Athletic Club to get a victory on the road there. Celta de Vigo versus last place Osasuna. I don't expect anything other than a Celta de Vigo win. Barcelona, fresh off their spanking at the hands of PSG, they got crushed midweek in the Champions League. I expect them to bounce back and get a win because Leganes is nothing to really fear too much, but they're in trouble from a playing standpoint. Barcelona this year. Bologna versus Inter. Inter got back to winning ways last week. I expect that form to continue here, although Bologna is still a good club and may provide a fight. Sampdoria, 3 straight wins. They make it 4 straight at home over Cagliari. Pescara finally fired their manager. They've had 1 victory all year, and it was from a forfeit. They're not going to get a win here, but they do get a draw. New manager, they get a bounce, they get a little jolt of adrenaline and get a draw out of that one. Chievo versus Napoli. Napoli, suffered the loss midweek in the Champions League to Real. They get back to winning ways, keep pace with Roma for 2nd in Serie A. Udinese versus Sassuolo. Both clubs mid-table, nothing really to comment on beyond that. I just expect Udinese to get a home victory there. Roma versus Torino. Both clubs very high scoring, should make for an interesting, entertaining match. I expect Roma to prevail at home, though, and get a victory there. AC Milan versus Fiorentina. Another one that should be a good match. AC Milan has slipped to, I believe, 7th, and Fiorentina is 8th, only a point back. I expect AC Milan to get a victory, start to get some things corrected, and get a win there. Bordeaux versus Guingamp. Both clubs in a spotty run of form. Neither of them really doing too well, but I like Bordeaux to get a home victory there. Montpellier versus Saint Etienne. Etienne had a draw midweek. They lost midweek versus Man U. They have a good defense. I expect this one to end up as a draw. Olympique Lyonnais versus Dijon. Lyonnais is tough to predict. They've been really spotty, but I expect them to get a win in that one. PSG versus Toulouse. PSG, fresh off their Barcelona spanking, they get a victory there. Keep that momentum flying. Pumas versus Tijuana. Pumas has been struggling recently. Tijuana, surprise loss last week. I expect them to get a draw out of that one. Puebla versus Chiapas. Puebla, Still no wins in the Clausura. I expect that to continue. That one to end up as a draw. We got Las Palmas versus Malaga in the last match we have here. I expect Las Palmas to prevail.